everyone. This is the Whispering Voice, and as always, I hope that I find you happy and well. Now, this is going to be a video regarding some comments I've been left over the previous few videos, and in general, whereby people seem to be very interested in hearing little stories. And by stories I mean they're stories for you, but they're memories for me about my childhood or my uncle, really. And so I thought I would do this video, and I'll do the one of his home in the next video, but that will probably be very brief, as his home was very small, and for that video I would get some sunglasses nearby. You'll see why. Anyway, one of the special memories which came to my mind and always makes me smile, and also taught me from very early on that a gift doesn't have to be wrapped. Someone can give you a gift of love, appreciation, fondness, friendship, and this little sort of memory for me was of a time when we used to go for walks together, and he would come to the house in the afternoon to ask if I was interested in going with him and the dog which he had then. So of course I jumped at the idea. So he would say, "I'll pick you up in an hour," or something. And sure enough, he would knock the door and walk into the kitchen. I was ready, and off we'd go. And we'd walk to a little sweet shop, which isn't there now. And we used to get, I used to get a little pack of the sweets, or candy as they call them in America. They were all loose in glass jars on the shelves, and I used to ask for 2 ounces, or if I was feeling rich, 4 ounces, a quarter of a pound, and I used to ask for either pear drops, cough candy twist, which was his favourite. They were like a cough sweet. You can still buy them today. So after the sweets were bought, we'd carry on. Now on the way onto this walk we were going on, bear in mind he knew this area so well. He would speak about places that maybe no longer existed and pointed out different things. Now his father, he came originally from London, and he met, obviously, his mother. They married and settled. Had 4 children. The part after the sweet shop is it's like a leisure football ground, tennis courts, but back when he was a child, it was an allotment site owned by the council or the corporation, and people used to rent an allotment to grow their own vegetables because money was very tight for everyone then. And they were very fit when you think, because they'd work all day, come home and have their dinner. But there was no television really as it is today, no computers, so it was something to do. And they used to go and spend a couple of hours every night in the summer in the allotment. So he pointed out where they were, and then he would walk up further and he would point out a walnut tree, and when they would produce walnuts, and these little things, what I call little gems, they're like passing history down the line, the knowledge. So I always know where that walnut tree is, and it's still there today. I'll try and get footage of this area soon. And we'd be walking up and chatting. He would point out certain parts of the river where he'd seen the salmon coming up to spawn, and little things. But one day he was walking, I may have mentioned this, I'm not sure, but he said on this particular day, "I've got a little treat for you." And he wouldn't say what it was. So I was excited then. And we'd walk, I couldn't wait, I was sort of rushing the walk, I think. So we walked out from all the houses, sort of thing, and then into the woods. And the woods was about 2 miles long, and we'd come out in another section, and there'd be another river or stream which had watercress growing in it, and it was beautiful, fresh from the river, very peppery, nice. I must check there to see if it's still going, really. And we would go further, and he would show you could see a buzzard in the tree, which I would have missed, but just stopping for those few moments in the woods, your eyes adjusted to the slightest of movements, and little things, I absolutely loved it. After the woods and the watercress in the river or in the stream, we came to a big trough, big concrete, stone trough, and it was an overflow from a nearby castle, which is also standing today, and it was the water which supplied the castle. Then it flowed down into this sort of place and out of a pipe into the trough, which then overflowed into the stream. But people used to let their horses drink out of it. Now, it was a very, very fast flowing water source, and we used to drink out of it, as disgusting as that may sound. But there was very, very few horses drank out of it when we were there. It was previous to that, when people used to go around with horse and carriage and horse and traps, and before cars, really. We'd have a drink there, and then we were getting ever nearer to my little treat, and we may pop into the cemetery, and he would show me his mother and father, the grave where he is today, and his grandparents and their stone. Now, if he hadn't have shown me that stone, our family wouldn't know of it today, because it's that worn away. So little things like that. And then we'd pop past an old cottage which had a thatched roof, and it's still there today, and a straw roof. We'd pass that, and then we would come to a small farm. How we knew, I don't know, but he would stop just before the farm and put his hand inside the hedge, and he would fumble about. Then he came out with 2 eggs. He'd found one of the chickens had made her nest in the hedge and laid daily. How he found it, I don't know. So every time he passed, he used to go in and take 2 eggs out of them. Anyway, carried on, and we came to a pub. And of course then, children very, very rarely went into a pub. They weren't allowed in, I don't think. But anyway, we both went in and sat down, and I remember a very old interior with a fire burning, beautiful place, full of brasses hanging on the wall, old pictures, and a clock ticking in the corner. My treat, you see, was a shandy lemonade with a little bit of lager. And it was a shandy. Well, I was thrilled to bits. If you did that today, I expect it wouldn't be seen as anything really. It was just, you've been out and you've called somewhere for something to drink. But then, for him to think about taking me in there, because it was something which wasn't done those days, it was so special to me that he did that, as silly as it may sound. It stayed with me, and such a little thing like that meant so much and was so powerful. It lasts with you a lifetime. And you think of these things when they happen. You're excited, obviously, but as you get older, and especially when you lose someone or that person, it becomes stronger, that fondness and how kind they were to do it. But it just shows you things don't have to cost a lot of money. Little, tiny little things can mean so much. And there was a time he didn't live where he lives now, the one I'm going to show you. He used to live with his sister, and they lived in a 3-bedroomed house, and it had quite a large back garden. Now, my brothers and sisters and my cousins would never go near the place. It was so old-fashioned, and I don't know, they were sort of scared, I think, to go there, because everything was so old. Even the food they cooked was, it seemed, prehistoric. You see, I loved it. I was very, well, funny like that. I like anything different. And I was always going there. And of course they'd make me food. And I always remember some of my cousins or my brother or someone would say, "You haven't eaten that, have you?" And I say, "Yes, of course I have." "Oh, I couldn't eat there, I couldn't eat." There's no reason they weren't dirty, it was just old. But anyway, they were some of the best meals I've ever had. And I've got those ingredients and those meals all in my head now, and I can make them, and I often do. Anyway, they used to have this large back garden, which my uncle turned into an allotment. And I remember one year, I used to go and stay weekends there, and his sister was there. And I remember going for a meal. It must have been, we had a meal Friday evening, Saturday, Sunday, the following Wednesday. And it used to be broad beans. And we had these broad beans in every meal. Because he'd grown too many. But that era, those type of people would never ever waste anything. Because they went without so often during the wartime, and before that they just would not waste anything. and you don't think much of it then, because all you could think of is you're sick and tired of these broad beans. But now you can take your hat off to them, because they must have been sick of them, but they just would not waste good food. And a lot of good common sense, and when you think of it. But I used to help him dig, and we were very close. And then my auntie would shout that the food's ready, and beautiful meals, roast meat and various vegetables. And yeah, I can see it now. I wish I could taste it now. Anyway, this may be going on, but I'll do these again in future. But I thought I would just give you one of these now, hopefully you can find it relaxing to listen to, even if you're not interested in the subject really. So, thanks for listening. I do hope you enjoyed it, and take care of yourselves, and I'll speak to you soon.